Welcome, everyone, back to the Kitchen and the Forging Agreement podcast. My name is Lisa, and sitting across from me is my dear friend and colleague, John Worthington. So this episode, we're going to be delving into natural mind function. And before we begin, remember, if you haven't already, to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you stay up to date on all our videos. All right, so natural mind function. Mm-hmm. This has been an interesting week delving into natural mind function. So the very first thing I want to start with is with specific function. We talked about that quadrant of the playing field as having a geography.
That's right.
Right. Mm-hmm. So does natural mind function.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's just jump off there. So what does that geography look like within natural mind?
Well, it looks different for anybody, but it's a geography. It's not a. Okay. It's a landscape, if you will. It's not a void in space. It actually has physical attributes, not characteristics, but attributes.
Okay, so
okay.
What's the difference there?
All right. In other words, it doesn't actually have mountains and rivers and oceans and plains and so forth. Okay,
right.
Not actually. However, you can treat it as though it does actually have those.
Okay.
Okay. And from that perspective, then what you're trying to do is you're trying to locate harmony function within that natural mind function concept.
Right. So when we look at the playing field, like with specific function, B1 was located there, and then we go down below to natural mind, and harmony is situated there.
Right.
Okay.
Now the thing is this: is that harmony function, in lots of ways, determines what it is that your natural mind function is going to be. Okay. Or where you're going to place your natural mind function.
Okay, so how so? What's going on there?
Well, harmony function and natural mind function both are going to depend on what kind of experiences you have had.
Okay.
Okay, so for instance, in natural mind function, you're going to use your programming, certainly.
Okay, right.
But you're also going to use your SelfMeta Programming. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Now, if we can recall, SelfMeta Program works only on meta programs.
Right.
And meta programs work only on the programs. Mm-hmm. And the programs work only on the logic, detailed carrying out of the instructions.
Yep.
Okay. Same as in the computer. Now, the difference here is this: is that rather than doing a thing as specific function does, natural mind function is what allows you to do that thing.
Okay.
And in other words, let's say that, the reason why you want harmony in natural mind function is because you want to sing harmony with somebody, right? That you can't sing harmony by yourself.
No.
You got to sing it to a melody.
No. Yeah, that's right.
So,
it's like finding somebody who's singing the melody so that you can sing the harmony.
So what harmony do you sing? Do you sing tenor? Do you sing alto? Do you sing bass? Do you sing baritone? What do you sing? Do you sing soprano? What harmony do you sing actually? Well, that depends on your experiences, on how your energy body is built.
Right. So it's similar to specific function. So it carries over into this with that.
Well, they're both geographies, let's say.
Right. Okay. Right.
Okay. But it's like, first of all, you have to understand what harmony is, because the harmony, there are different parts to harmony.
True. Right. Yes. You have, think of pentatonics, if you want to, physical.
Right.
Right. Because there's several different, each one of them sings
different harmonies.
Yes.
Right. Okay. In a choir, it's even more so sometimes. Mm-hmm. Sometimes there's many parts. I think the King's Singers have a recording where they do 24 parts.
Shit.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
Wow.
So anyway, the idea here is that what you're looking to try to do is you're looking to try to find a home for your harmony function within your natural mind function. So in order to do that, you've got to understand how are you built. What are your strengths? Can you hit those really low notes? Well, then you could probably sing bass. If you can't quite get there, but you can sing low notes, but not really low notes, maybe you're baritone. Mm-hmm. If you can sing like Mitch does, then you should get into pentatonics.
Exactly. You can sing it all.
Yeah. Boy is up above soprano somewhere.
Yeah.
But he's a true tenor.
Yeah.
Okay, so what do you sing though? Where do you apply your trade, as it were? Do you do that in an opera? Do you do that in pop music? Do you do that in an a cappella group? Do you do that in country music? What do you do? How do you express that? Well, it depends on your experience. Because if you've only listened to country music in your life, it's going to be difficult for you to then play to go sing jazz riffs just right out of the box. You're not going to do that. You may be able to practice and get there, but you're not going to be able to do that right away because that's not your experience. Your experience really is to sing country music. Right.
So that's again the point here is like looking at your experiences and all that makes up those experiences is where you can naturally express natural mind function.
Right.
Okay.
So, but natural mind function also has to include what you actually are.
So specific function.
Well, let's think about it this way. Natural mind function is a result of not doing. Okay. So we could to use something that everybody can get behind. We could say that natural mind function might not do consciousness.
Right. And that, okay. So that's a whole nother part of this.
Yes. Well, let's do the easy parts first. So that would indicate that if what you are is a stalker or a dreamer, if we could go back to those two divisions, if you're a Mac computer or an IBM computer, iOS or Android,
pick one,
then you're going to be, well, you're going to have a specific function, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, well, that means that you're going to also express that specific function in what your natural mind function is. In other words, when you think about things naturally, you're going to express that with whatever type of computer you are. Or if you're a dreamer, you're going to dream. Mm-hmm. If you're a stalker, you're going to talk to people. You're going to manage people. You're going to get people to do things for you, etc. Mm-hmm. Because your interaction is going to be with people. Mm-hmm. A dreamer may be a solitary bird and not get out and about much at all. That doesn't mean that they can't develop some dreaming skills that will allow that. Yes. What it means is that they're not going to miss it if they don't. Mm-hmm. Okay, they may not even notice it that they don't because they're busy off in dreamland.
Yes,
okay?
Exactly.
Artists, for instance, that there's a whole host of people that are artists that don't talk to anybody when they're painting.
Yeah.
Okay, they don't want the interruption because they're dreaming the thing. Mm-hmm. There's that kid that does whole cityscapes.
Oh God, yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, he goes and looks at it for 2 minutes, and then he goes. But he does it all by himself. He doesn't need no stinking help.
No,
and he doesn't need it. Really, he doesn't.
No.
Okay.
It's fantastic to watch.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Because that he's redreaming or he's dreaming what he's looking at. And he has the ability to recreate that dream for himself so he can see it all in all of its detail.
Yeah. And then the details,
Well,
it's all there.
it's all of the detail. That's
Yeah.
right. I mean, he's quite amazing.
Yeah.
But that's an example of a dreamer, for instance.
Okay. Yeah, that's a Yeah, you can look that up on YouTube, I'm sure, and if you haven't seen it, watch it because pretty amazing.
So that's how his natural mind works. Or that's how his mind works naturally, let's say.
Okay.
Or that's an expression of his natural mind. We could say it any one of those three ways. It's the same thing.
Right.
Okay. Now, that I would think that would indicate that everybody has one of those, a natural mind and a natural mind function. What do you do naturally? But that's going to be a result of, or as a, not maybe even the result of, but perhaps an expression of the spirit as it expresses through the body. It must start there. That's why we call these spiritual functions, okay? Or functions of the spirit, because you have to start with that concept. What did you bring to the party?
Right.
Okay.
Right. Okay.
So let's say that you're an Android computer. Well, that means that you're going to be a stalker type of idea. If you're a Macintosh or an iOS type of computer, then you're going to be a dreamer type of computer, let's say. Okay. Now that's right from the design
Design out, yes.
engineering up. Okay. That's what that whole thing is made from there.
Yeah.
All right. So how does that apply though in reality? Because you see, the thing is that consciousness is way after the fact.
Right.
Okay. So and it's like that's where we get caught up, I think, is that we think that we need to be conscious of all the things that our natural mind does.
Yes. We'll experience with that one. Yeah.
Well, you can't be.
Right.
Because it doesn't. Consciousness is a recorder. It isn't an instigator. Okay. That's done by the SelfMeta Programmer, and it's not conscious at all. That part of your thinking machinery doesn't talk to itself. It gives instructions.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's a quote by Einstein that like references that, how we've like lost that. I think he calls it an intuitive instead of the SelfMeta Programmer.
Right.
And it's like literally over time have flipped it. And it doesn't work well for us.
Yeah, Castaneda, I think, said it too, but he said it that consciousness shouldn't be a guard; it should be a guardian.
Yes, that's yes.
Okay,
Yep.
But Einstein also said the same thing in different words.
Yep.
Okay, and that's really something that's important to consider. I mean, it really is.
Right, because it's like, and from experience, getting caught up in the logical processes, it's like you miss so much that's going on around you.
Well, you can't really pay attention to it.
There's no way to pay it. Yeah, there's no way to pay attention.
But that doesn't mean that you miss it.
Okay, interesting. Right, because that awareness that like we've talked about, the old part of the brain is constantly paying attention.
Right. So what kind of instructions do you give it? Conscious instructions? Only pay attention to this, only record this, only remember this, only let this part right here affect you.
Wow. Even though it's all there.
Yeah.
Well, I've used this term before, cognitive dissonance. I think it applies to this too. Right, because if that's going on, I mean, it's like people get off into a frenzy. Done that. And yeah, it's like you're missing so much because you're running over to this thing and running over to that thing instead of like, oh, hang on here, let's slow the fuck down for a moment and use that awareness that we naturally have. So that's a natural part.
Right. But that's easier said than done.
Yes, it is.
To actually get to there requires more than a modicum of understanding.
Yeah.
mean, that's the reason why we have these classes such as program theory and dyad class and introduction and harmony and so forth, because we want people to have the foundation for how to use those ideas.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and that is really the point, because I mean, it's taken me a while. We won't say how long.
I would.
To even just begin wrapping my head around this.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah.
There's again, because I think this fits well. There is an immense width and depth to these ideas, these concepts.
Right. Something that you've accused me of every now and then is I don't use notes for these.
Yes. Yeah, and I mean, I've been in many classes too, and it's like you kind of have an outline for the day, just to get that done, so you can move on to the next thing. But you don't use any notes, so like, okay, so what's going on there?
Well, I allow the SelfMeta Programmer to do what it's supposed to do. I rely on that.
Okay,
That's the same way I write a story.
that's true. Yeah. Yes, like you just sit down
And it's all prepared. It has been dreamed out. The SelfMeta Programmer did its job. It dreamed out what it needed to do. And at 1 o'clock in the morning, I can sit down. An hour later, I can give you a 1,200 word story that makes sense.
Yes. Literally woke up at 4 a.m. and it was like, checked my phone, and at 2 a.m. there was the vlog for the week.
Right.
Yeah, and fairly all put together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's the SelfMeta Programmer in action, because that's what Lilly talks about when he talks about the SelfMeta Program. He says it works only on the meta programs. The meta programs work on the programs.
Right. I mean, this would be a good place to, because we do have that diagram, so people can have a visual for what we're talking about here.
Mm-hmm.
I think that'd be really helpful. But right, and that's how.
Yeah,
this...
I wouldn't be surprised. It's showing up right here in front of me.
I highly think it will be. Yeah.
Psychic ability.
Ooh, there it is.
Yeah. Okay, so here's the thing that you want to think about with this. Harmony function is how you prove the natural mind function. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Natural mind function has to be harmonious. It must be. It can't be made up stuff that's just argumentative. Because the idea here is to have a basis from which you can ask for agreement. Right.
And I think in one of our discussions this past week was like, people, instead of people look for the disagreement so that people agree with them instead.
Right.
And yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that it's not harmonious. There's no harmony there.
Again, you can't sing harmony by yourself.
Right.
Now, that doesn't mean that when somebody's trying to sing harmony, you can't say that's not the note you need to hit there. I mean, you can. I mean, that's quite within the realm of not only possibility but of correctness. Right, because there has to be a back and forth. Right, there has to be an interchange of information. Right. Yes. Okay. Yes. Going back to the pentatonics idea, I'm sure that they every now and then that there's discussions about what set of notes they're going to hit to make what chord. There has to be. Right. It's like, nope, this isn't working, and and it's like then they got to go back and find out what is going to work. Right. For everybody. Right. But because they all have to sing a different part, right? Right. Yep. So every different part has a different note, and that different note changes the mood of the chord. Right. Okay. Are they going to make it a classical mood? They're going to make it a jazz mood? They're going to make it a blues mood? What are they going to do with that chord?
Right, or change it up in between somewhere.
Yeah.
And they've done that.
Yes, they have. They do all kinds of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
But so that indicates, though, that there are these discussions that must go on.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the same thing occurs for in anything else. Okay, so for instance, well, that's the reason why you can say that harmony is the proof of the natural mind function. I mean, when you hear the three main kids there sing, that's the proof, because you can see that they're in harmony with each other, and their natural mind functions of where those notes need to go and who needs to sing what part comes to the fore, and you can actually hear and see that in real time.
Right. Okay. So something too is like with pentatonics, like when they first came out on the TV show,
Mm-hmm.
and to where they are now, there's an actual difference.
Yeah.
So,
but you could see where they were going to be from when they first got out of high school.
Yes. Yeah. Because they're amazing then.
Right. I mean, they were 19 when they started that.
Yeah, I mean, and that's just like showing where like they've had to they had to like work their way to that. So it's like adjusting,
right?
Well, thinking natural mind function, not doing what
right.
they each have to not do.
Right. So, well, for them, one of their not doing was they couldn't go on to school.
Okay. Yep.
All right. They had to not do school in order to do the music that they did. We're all glad that they didn't go to school.
My God, yes. Absolutely.
Okay. So, going back to the concept here, harmony is the proof for your natural mind function. Because when you can hit the harmony, when you can be in harmony, then you're thinking from the best that you can be.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. And so the best that you can be is going to be from the SelfMeta Programmer. It's not going to be from consciousness.
Right.
Okay. Another example of this that's perhaps more to the point is Warriors basketball.
How Steph Curry.
Yeah. He shoots 100 3-point shots, and he doesn't count them if it hits the rim at all.
Mm-hmm.
If it does just go through the net, it doesn't really count.
Right. Yep.
Okay.
He's got a swoosh in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, how many thousands of those has he done in order to be able to do that whenever he wants?
Hell of a lot.
Yeah, that's right. And it's like his teammates say, he practices those weird shots that he makes in a game. He practices them. He practices from shooting from 1 foot. He practices shooting all kinds of strange positions. He practices it.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So that when he gets into the game, then he's got that already there as a natural mind function from the SelfMeta Programmer, because he doesn't have time to consciously think about it.
Exactly, because otherwise there's no way you could do it, because you're way behind the SelfMeta Program. I mean, it's like,
that's right.
The SelfMeta Program is right there, right now, and Logic's like,
it's recording what you just did, and what you just did was too late.
All that is a reference. It's like, right. You can reference that, but it ain't in the moment. That's right. For sure.
That's right, because consciousness is designed to put it back in, to store it in its proper place. Okay.
Yep.
It's not designed to decide where it needs to go. It needs to be a guardian, not a guard. Okay, so your natural mind function has to begin with whatever it is that you do. Are you a dreamer? Are you a stalker? Are you Android? Or are you iOS?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if you're iOS, then you're going to be one way. If you're an Android, you're going to be another way. So we're happy with that.
Yeah, because that's your natural
mind function. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so what are you in harmony with, therefore? You see, In other words,
Okay.
okay, so if we take that iOS computer and we put it in a business environment, it doesn't work nearly as well as it does in an art environment, for instance, right?
Right. So it being in an art environment, there's harmony. That harmony is there.
Okay, so its natural mind function can therefore be expressed to its fullest.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that Android computer in an art environment doesn't do it
As well.
as well. Okay, it does it, but not as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so its harmony function comes to fore. You can see what the harmony proves its natural mind function.
Yes, and that's a perfect example right there.
Okay.
Okay.
So, for instance, a teacher should be at their very best when they're teaching.
Mm-hmm.
A bricklayer should be at their very best when they're laying brick.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, a truck driver should be at their very best when they're driving truck.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all of those, no matter what your specific function is, the proof of how good you are is in what can you be in harmony with. Where do you sing? What part do you sing in the harmony?
Right.
Not how important you are.
Yeah.
Not how big your education is.
Yeah. Exactly. Yes.
It's how well can you sing harmony? I mean, I can't imagine the pentatonics kids having to go through Juilliard.
Oh, no.
Would they be able to do it better? Maybe, but it's really hard for me to imagine that, because how do you improve on perfection?
Right, because it was, that was already expressing through them.
Right.
Okay. Okay, so it is like we're talking harmony function. Something else like coming to mind here is, it's like when we're looking at that geography then, and taking that pentatonics as an example, it's like looking at where that B1 is in specific function, then harmony has to line up.
Yes, it does. Okay. So both specific function and natural mind function can be thought of as geographies, because where do you fit in that huge expanse of possibility?
Right. So yes, and
well, if that's the idea, is that you can cross-reference to find out where are you most harmonic.
Right.
Okay. That will correspond to where you're most at one with yourself.
Yes. So somebody, well, I guess we could use we use the computers as an example, but people trying to go and do something that they're just not a good fit for, there's no way they can even. They can't even get to that harmony.
Right, which is why we have to talk about not doing. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so not doing means that if I can't express my natural mind function, if I find reasons why I can't, I have to not do that reason.
Right. It's like, okay, so what's first? It's like, what's in the way?
Right. Well, let's see if we can give an example for this one. Okay. Let's say let's take a simple business one here.
Okay.
Let's make a salesman. Let's take a salesman as an example. Now, we can see that a salesman has all the characteristics and moxie and so forth necessary to make the sale. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. We can see that he's outgoing. We can see that he's personable. We can see that everybody likes him and so forth. But he can't pick up that check. Okay. So we have to stop and say, okay, what's the problem? Because it appears as though this is your specific function because you have all the attributes necessary. Now, is it because you're trying to sell cars and you should be selling real estate, or you should be selling soap and you're trying to sell cars, or what's the deal here?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Let's say that it's just a simple thing that the guy would do better with real estate because it's a longer idea than a car is a shorter idea, and he does better with longer ideas. Well, why isn't he over there doing that longer idea? Because he doesn't think he should, because he doesn't think he can, he doesn't think he's big enough, he doesn't think he has that kind of moxie or that kind of wherewithal to handle those kind of big numbers. Take your pick.
Yeah, whatever.
Okay, we just pick one. Let's say that the problem is in his perception of his own value. Well, he has to not do that "I'm cheap" idea. He has to replace that with something else. He has to replace that with some other thing. That's why you oftentimes see people who are sales managers, for instance. Okay, what they'll do is they'll take some guy that they realize doesn't have a value, and they'll say, okay, you know what? You need a bigger car. You need a nice car. You need a BMW here. That's what you need. Oh my God, that's $60,000. Yeah, it is. That's what you need. Okay. Because they want them to understand their value. Well, I want you to move out of that cheap ass apartment that you get for $100 a month or $500 a month or whatever. I want you to move into something that costs you $3,000 a month. $3,000 a month? My God, how am I going to? Well, that's what I want you to do, so you understand what your value is. I want you to not do your cheap ass ideas.
Right. So that then the not doing then
allows the man to express his actual natural mind functions.
Right. So that has to be in place first.
Okay. So therefore, harmony is a proof of the natural mind function.
Because you have to be in that harmony.
You have to be in harmony with with where you are, with the car you drive, the house you live in, so that you are expressing what it is that you really are.
Exactly. So in that, right, and that example is, this guy gets to he not does that cheap cheap mindset idea, you buy this car.
Right. Well, mom and dad had to save money. Okay, and so they cut out coupons from the paper. They had a whole stack of they got food stamps. They did the whole we don't have enough money thing. Okay, green stamps maybe, I don't know.
In our time, exactly. I remember those things. Anyway,
okay.
Green stamps. Okay. Yeah.
But this person now has to not do that thought. Okay, because it was good. Mom and dad did it. That's how they lived life. But now he has to not do that. He has to move himself into another reality. He has to move his assemblage point in order to be in harmony.
Right, because the tool for harmony function is moving the assemblage point.
Right. So he has to move his assemblage point where he can actually be, well, shall we say, related to his specific or his natural mind function, so he can express that properly.
Okay. Yeah, this is this is fascinating. Because you can see it in, again, it's the practical. That's the whole series we're doing.
Look, I keep saying this, but it's true. People who think that the spiritual is not practical have got their head up something that
backside.
Well, the sun doesn't. They're not going to get a sunburn on the top of their head. That's for sure.
That is yes, exactly. Wow. Right. Because wow. That's one of those we're adding on to this abstraction.
Right.
Yeah.
The abstraction is a little larger than what it would first appear to be. Okay, but if you apply it, then you can see the idea.
Right.
But that would maybe require that you be using your natural mind function. Yes. Okay.
To be able, to apply that
right
idea.
Now, again, all these ideas that harmony and natural mind function, for instance, are more than self. Okay, so therefore they are supra-self metaprograms. They are more than self.
Right. And okay, because they're more than self, which also includes everyone. It all includes everyone around you because it's more than self.
That's right, it does. And that's the reason why we can say with certainty that it's a spiritual idea,
Right.
or it is a function of the spirit, or it is the energy of the spirit. Okay, because it's not the energy of the body. And we don't have another word other than spirit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's what we got.
That's the best.
Yeah.
Rocky Mountain way is better than the way we had.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Joe Walsh is a version.
Right. So yeah, it's like the idea, the word, that idea of I think it's Krzyzewski, the word is not the thing,
Right.
it points to it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So we can get all lost on that concept, saying that spirit is necessary. But it's like the subtitle of my book. It says, what it says is that, this is a hermeneutic rationale for the inclusion of the spiritual concept
Mm-hmm.
as a genesis of human thought, because you have to stop and think about these concepts in order to see what you're thinking with.
Right. And it's like where thought actually begins.
Right. And so, the next thing that we're going to talk about here, well, we've already talked about, is do.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But do requires B1 and harmony to be set in place.
Right. So if we're looking at that playing field,
Right.
You've got the B1, you got harmony, and then on the line that separates the quadrants is the do.
Right. Because it has to be exactly between those other two quadrants for it to be in its proper place.
Right.
Okay. In other words, it has to fit everything that other person is talking about. And so when somebody replies to you from the other side of the playing field, and you know what your specific function is, you know what your natural mind function is, you know where B1 is, you know where harmony is, then that's going to have to answer to all four of those concepts, the do from the other person. It's going to have to balance, or it's going to have to walk on that tightrope between all four of those concepts.
Right. It's that line, the line that separates.
If it does, then there's an agreement automatically.
Right, because that's where between those the two triangles is where we actually create reality through agreement.
Right. Now, there's certainly a great deal of let's say latitude in terms of how that goes out.
Right.
But that latitude really is in where the agreement becomes a disagreement at a point in time. Okay. All right. If you point your gun if you're going to shoot a gun, okay, and you point your gun off by a hair width here, by the time it gets to its target, it's way off.
Yeah.
It's not where it's supposed to be now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Whenever you're making an agreement, you're making a trajectory through time. Okay. All right. So, for instance, you want to be sure that your communication is accurate. You want to be sure that your B1 is accurate. You want to be sure that your harmony is accurate. You want to be sure that all these things are accurate and exactly where they're supposed to be, because there are agreements that last longer than 20 minutes. The Cathedral of Notre-Dame, I think, took more than 100. Roughly, right?
Roughly,
yeah.
Not exact, but
yeah. That was several generations, okay?
Yes.
And so that everybody that came along, no doubt there was changes.
I would think, because again,
how they started working at it and how they ended up working at it were two different things, because they had put the steeple in place for one thing. You had to think about that differently than the foundation, wouldn't you?
True.
Okay. And so the idea is that over the course of that much time, you had to make sure of where you were going. What are you going to do with that building? What is that building supposed to look like over the course of time?
Right. So all that, at least, and that there had to be a large chunk of that in place when that agreement was originally forged, so they could see where they were going to end up.
And from the appearance of the building, it was all in place.
Wow. Wow. And to think, and that's what you're saying is like that are like you're actually having to think through time. That agreement goes through time.
Right.
So when you
Here's a simpler one. Okay. In San Diego, there's a hotel, and in the hotel there's a courtyard, and in the courtyard there is a single tree. Can you imagine being the gardener who planted that puppy? I think the hotel's like 120 years old or something.
The tree is still there, so
well, it fills up the entire patio,
right,
or courtyard,
right. But like, wow, and like all the caretakers through that, again, those generations,
right?
Huh. So, yeah. Go on. Okay.
Well, most people think about Japanese gardens and they think about bonsais, being little small trees, right?
Yeah, right. But that's not. Yeah.
Well, in a Japanese garden, every tree is treated as though it could be a bonsai, no matter what its size. Every plant is considered to be a bonsai, no matter what its size, because you want to show its beauty. You want to see the movement of the years of growth. You want to see what the years are, what effect the years have had on this tree and how it has survived the years, or this plant.
Wow. Okay. So,
or how natural has that rock been over the course of the life of this garden? Was it placed in the proper place right from the beginning? Were all the rocks that were placed, were they all in balance? Were they going to be in balance 50 years from now, 100 years from now, 200 years from now? Will they still be in balance if they're left there? How about the garden grows? How about the garden gets bigger? Will it still be in balance?
Okay, so then a lot of that was planned right from the beginning.
It certainly was.
So again, it's that
Okay.
idea through time.
That's right, because you want the do to be aimed at time.
Okay.
Okay, and so there's a protection for that time in placing the specific function, placing your B1 in the specific function that's appropriate for you, and singing the appropriate harmony in your natural mind function. Okay, you want it to be timeless.
Right, and that's why, as the example, the Japanese garden can't exist the way it exists.
Right. Okay, and that's the reason why that communication is an exchange of information, so that you can be as accurate as possible when you set those stones in place. When you plan that garden's growth, when you plan that child's growth, when you plan the family's growth, when you plant that orchard for your grandchildren.
Right, and that's what is left through the generations.
Right.
And so when you stop and you actually look at that, and then you can see that you can see the agreement where it was forged.
Right. More to the point, you can see how it was forged.
Okay.
Okay.
And the people, right, within the people who did that.
That's right.
Huh.
So these are very important concepts in order to have a basis for aiming your agreement rifle, as it were.
I think that's a cool example. Yeah. Yes.
Okay. All right. These are not simple abstractions. They're exacting, actually.
Yeah. Right, because all of those things, I mean, like what we've talked about is, the Notre-Dame Cathedral, a Japanese garden. It's like an orchard that was planted, 75 years ago and is still being cared for.
Right.
Like all of the, it's like it's that expression of spirit that was put into that design.
Right. See, that's what makes like a Frank Lloyd Wright house.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. It doesn't make any difference what age it's in. It's still beautiful.
It's still, yeah, it is.
The structure, the material that's made from, because he said it has to be made from where it lives.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
It has to fit there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what all his designs were made to do, is to fit there.
Yeah. And the beauty that's within that, because of that, is just phenomenal.
Right. Okay. So it's timeless.
Right.
Okay.
Right. It literally moves through time.
Yes, it does. Okay. It still exists through time. Now, with time, it decays and falls away. But nonetheless, the design itself is still timeless. That design will always be that design. And it's like, well, you can't improve upon perfection now, can you? Okay. In other words, if the aim was true, then the bullet's going to get to where it needs to go. Exactly where it needs to go. Okay. And so that's what an agreement is about. It's making that thing that you're making, that reality that you're making, exists through time. How much time? Well, what kind of care have you put into that agreement?
Right. Yeah. Right. And how
was there a specific function that was expressed? Was there a natural mind function that was expressed? Was there a be at one harmony? Was there a harmony function? Was there an actual do? And that do, was it dependent on an exchange of information, or somebody saying, I'm going to do it my way?
Yeah. And that creates something completely different.
Right.
Something that can't be sustained.
But it can't be, because no one else will agree to it. And those that do are, well,
yeah, it's the same.
They're not being really real about it. They're just going along just because they're going along.
Yeah, for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. We can see that in current events.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's the reason why you see things like Da Vinci paintings or sculptures, for instance. They're timeless. Okay. The Mona Lisa is going to be the Mona Lisa
forever. Yeah.
Right. How can you can't improve upon that?
Nope.
Okay. Monet's going to have that little field of flowers forever. Yeah. Picasso's going to have that blue guy playing the guitar forever.
Yeah. Yeah. And what's the other dude's name? The sunflowers.
Monet, I think, right? No.
I can't think of his name. The guy who cut off his ear. Any artist will know this.
Yes.
But he did the sunflowers. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Vincent.
Yeah, Vincent van Gogh.
Yeah.
Phew, got there. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So the thing is that you can't really make that any better.
Right.
Okay. Well, that's what harmony function in the natural mind function does. That's why it's a proof. Can you be in harmony when you express your natural mind function? Can you be in harmony with the world?
Right.
Can you be in harmony with the people in the world? Fairly important.
Yeah.
What else you got?
Wow, I think we covered quite a bit. I think we really covered it all. The only other part I have, and we've covered that too, was that idea. I went through and I read reread the chapter in The Office of Shaman, and that overarching idea, natural mind function, is that like submitting to spirit, or it's like the giving up that fight with logic to be in control.
Yeah, with consciousness.
Right.
Yeah, because you don't want consciousness to be in control of Monet's paintings.
No, you want that expression and that beauty to shine.
That's right.
Yeah.
And that's not a conscious idea.
No.
Okay. It's an impression, but it's an impression on the SelfMeta Programmer.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Right.
Expressed by a dreamer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pretty dreamy-like, anyway.
Very dreamy-like. Very dreamy-like. But yeah, I think I think that might be a great point to end on.
Okay. I won't mind.
Yeah. I think we covered a lot of territory, and so let's wrap it up here.
Okay. We're wrapping this up.
Wrapping.
See you guys later.
So thanks everybody for watching. Please remember to hit that subscribe button below and that notification bell so that you stay up to date. We are currently on social media, on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and our blogs are now on medium.com. Please go check them out. And until next time, see you later.
Adios, folks.